Hey, what's up guys, CJ here. We are back from SorceryCon, we're back in the home base, back with the table, and we are trying to make this video, and it's taken us about 2 weeks to do so. Got back from SorceryCon, it was so much fun, but I went straight to work, and then I ended up getting a cold, and I've been dealing with that for like 2 weeks. Just felt too crummy to make the video, then I was coughing up a lung, and every time I tried to do it, I would get no coughing fit, so we're a little bit late. But we are back, we are home, we are having a blast. We got Sunny, our co-producer, right here. Hey, Sunny. Always a good girl. She's a little bit wiped out from our hike today, but yeah, SorceryCon was amazing. We had like 350 people show up. The tournament was like 260 people. We ended up taking third place, which was pretty exciting. We did not compete in the constructed tournament, so it was the main event was sealed. Day one was sealed, and it was top 64 for day two, which we made. And on day two, we had 8 pods of 8 for the top 64, single elimination, and then the winner of each pod moved on to a top 8 draft, 8 pods of 8 draft. And the winner of each pod went on to a top 8 draft where I got eliminated in the second round, so I got third place, tied with somebody else for third. We didn't have a loser's bracket. It was so much fun, and in this video I'm going to be talking about kind of Arthurian Legends Limited in general, sealed, my thoughts on sealed and draft, and I'll go over my decks and what made them good, what made them bad, and what I would have done differently if I could have done anything differently. I definitely did learn some things. I used to say only big booties win games, and now I know that there's another strategy because a couple of my opponents had a pretty sweet deck that worked out pretty well without the big booties. I'll also go for my prizes. I got some pretty cool stuff. You guys probably already saw the Death Dealer Playmat. That was probably number one. Sunny's pretty excited about the Playmat, huh, girl? Yeah. But let me know if you guys like these kind of videos. I know I haven't done a lot of them with like the face cam and the IRL gameplay and things like that, but I am working on it, got a new camera, so we're gonna be messing around and having a lot of fun. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's dive in. All right, guys, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about my opinions on Limited in Arthurian Legends. I think the draft and sealed are pretty similar, although when it comes to draft, I like to be a little bit more conservative than in sealed, just because if I'm picking cards, I don't like to grab things with too much threshold. I think that it can be a bit of a trap, and then you kind of waste your higher picks on, like a 3-color knight that you end up not getting the mana to be able to play. But basically the theory that I started off when I went to SorceryCon was essentially that big booties win games. That's because unlike in Arthurian Legends where we have things like Bury and Drown, Disintegrate, Earthquake, Chaos Twister, you kind of get where I'm going, but essentially it's all unconditional removal. I guess, or very limited condition removal, right? Chaos Twister, you just have to land somewhere on the grid and the minion's gone. Earthquake and Bury, you had to basically be on Earth sites, which was pretty normal. Whereas in AL, basically all of the removal has conditions, other than maybe Cast Exile. I guess the condition is that they're on your site, but otherwise it's damage-based removal, right? We've got things like Burning Hands, Fire Breathing, Magic Missile, Ball Lightning, Arc Lightning, Lava Flow, Stone Rain, Shatter Strike, Snowball, Joust, Duel. Basically all of those things are damage-based removal, and some of them even rely on your minions to provide some of the damage, right? Like Joust and Duel. Depends on how big your guys are in order to remove their guys. So essentially, the point comes down to big booties are going to be really difficult to remove. Anything with 5 power especially is going to be almost impossible for your opponent to deal with one single card, and that helps you get 2-for-1 value on basically all of your creatures. 4 power is essentially the... 4 power gets over a lot of the removal, like Magic Missiles. It's still susceptible to removal, but it is kind of like the base of where I want to be. So that's why I kind of feel like everything is based up to this, or based around this Brown Bear, right? Brown Bear is basically like the iconic creature for me, and if anything, I'm looking for Brown Bears or better. If I could have, 24 Brown Bears as my deck, I probably would go for it. I'm not even sure I'm kidding. I think that would be a pretty good draft deck. So you really just want to have big creatures that are essentially 4 power is kind of where you want to go. Certainly 3 power for 3 is good, right? Harassing Ruffians is a phenomenal card. And then anything bigger than this Brown Bear is going to be good. So Lumbering Giant, it's a little bit of a downside that it can't defend or intercept, but I think that it's on par with Brown Bear. Vikings, it's 1 more mana, but it's got this tap ability, and again, it's 4 power. You can't say no to it. Spear Marshal's 3 power, but it has, a special ability, and then obviously we love Siege Giants. So these are from my first deck, my limited deck, and it's probably, this is the backbone of my deck and helped me get to day 2. So these are kind of the things you want to see. Other things you want to remember, you want to have removal. I kind of talked about all those different removal spells, right? I was like, oh, we got Magic Missiles, we got Arc Lightning, we got Snowball, Lava Flow. You want to get as much removal in your deck as you can get, but essentially just run the good ones, right? You want to get bombs. I had Lady Iseult in my first day, and my second day I had some crazy bombs in my top 64 deck. Not so many on my top 8 deck, but things like Lady Iseult, Sir Balin, any of the knights really, those are your bombs. And then you got utility creatures and spells, right? So utility spells like Vanishment, or like Red-Breasted Robin, which is going to be insane, or like Helpful Hob to help you untap and maybe get ahead a little bit. Those are going to be the things that you're going to add into your deck. So we want as many big booties as we can fit, all the bombs, all the removal, but because it's limited, you're not likely to get many of those things. And so essentially, when I get a pack of cards, I separate them out by colors first, and then I filter them into the cards that I really want to play in any of my decks, and the cards that I'm really not so happy to play. So all of these you saw, I love. I love Pigs of the Sounder. I don't love so much Tax Collector, not so much. I think that this card it's okay. If you get it exactly on turn 3, I think it's quite good. And if you hit it on like turn 5, you feel terrible. Lady Iseult, I'm loving. Kettle Tap Leprechauns is fine. This is great. Rescue's fine. Duel is amazing. So this is what I kind of do when I'm going through after I get my colors, and I try to figure out exactly what I want to build. And so that's kind of how I build my decks. A couple other things that I want to talk about, though, is that there are other strategies that I saw work pretty well at SorceryCon that were not my big booty strategy. Air aggro was surprisingly effective. I think they had air fire aggro, and it was a lot of burn and like aggro minions and charge, and it was able to whittle my life total down. I actually almost lost to a great player named Cal. He got me to Death's Door, and I think he was at something like 17. But then I got my big booties on the field and removed all of his minions, and then just started, going face. And I ended up winning that game, but it was a really, really close game. I think he had the Arc Lightning in hand, and he was chasing my avatar down, and I was just like one step ahead of him to keep myself from losing. But his aggro air style was actually pretty effective. And the other loss that I had on day 1, or the only loss I had on day 1, was on my Kerbig, who's just a phenomenal player. So losing to him doesn't necessarily mean that his deck was great. It just kind of means that he's great. But he had a kind of water fire control, and he was able to just kind of win on tempo by, getting a creature out ahead of me, and then playing like Koi Nixie to move my guys into inopportune locations and tap them, and then use Harassing Ruffians and Lances to remove my creatures without me being able to do anything. I think we didn't deal a single damage to anybody's face for 7 or 8 turns, but I also didn't untap with a single minion for 7 turns. Every time I played a minion, he killed it, and he did so with like very normal water cards. And so that's a strategy that I would definitely look more into, and I haven't really had a chance to go for yet. When it comes to avatars, I think there's only really one choice. Unfortunately, Druid is not in the running. You can't open Druid in Limited. It is only a box topper, and apparently the foil will be in Dust Store. So unfortunately, we just don't get to play with Druid in Draft. Which I still don't have, is interesting. I think it's a bit of a trap. I don't think you're going to get as much value out of her ability as you think, because the best minions, like I've been kind of preaching for the last 5 minutes, have big booties, which means they cost a lot of mana. So essentially, you aren't going to be able to use her tap ability until like turn 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, this is limited. The game's not over by then. It's very possible that you will get more value out of the Witch than I'm expecting. I have never played with it. I don't own it. So, if you guys have played with the Witch and you think that she's good and limited, please let me know. I'm genuinely curious. Templar is also a box topper, but you can get a foil Templar, which I actually did get on my in my sealed packs. But unfortunately, I only got 2 knights, and I couldn't play one of them. It was Sir Gawain. He's 3 color, and I wasn't splashing. But yeah, Templar is possible. He's got the 2 power, which is nice. But if you don't have a bunch of knights, I don't think he's worth it. Honestly, the 4th card you get from Spellslinger, I think, is just a little bit too good. Archimago is actually busted, but not in Limited. I think that in Constructed, this guy's insane. I think in Limited, he's a trap. You need to have like 12 to 15 pretty good spells in order to make use of this avatar to make him better than Spellslinger. If you're using crummy spells and you're trying to use those from your graveyard, that means you have to include bad cards to make your pretty okay avatar better. I wouldn't recommend that. Honestly, Spellslinger, I felt really good running Spellslinger because he gives you 4 cards to start with, which sounds like, oh, it's just 1 extra card. But the fact that you get that during your mulligan choices makes a huge difference. If you had like a 4-drop, a 4-drop, and a 5-drop in your opening hand, you would probably have to pitch 2 of those really good cards in order to guarantee you get to do something before turn 4. But if Spellslinger is your avatar and you have 4, 4, 5, 3, I think I just keep that hand, right? I've got, oh wow, I've got my top curve already sorted out. My 4s and 5s are probably some of the best cards in my deck. I have something to play on turn 3. And instead of playing up and aggressively, I can always do what I did most of the games in the tournament, which is just kind of play a site here, play a site here, and then play a site here. I've allowed my opponent to come up on me. My avatar is still in this position. I can use things like Lava Flow and Magic Missiles and Burning Hands to 2-for-1 my opponent. And I've bought myself time where they couldn't just attack me on turn 3 at my forward site on 13. So I think that Spellslinger, because of the impact he has on your mulligan decisions, is actually really, really good. But like I said, I've never played with Witch, so if you guys have a different opinion, please let me know. I would love to hear it. All right, so moving on to my sealed list. So this was day 1. This is the list that got me through to day 2, a top 64. I ended up going 5-1. Yeah, we had to play 6 games day 1, and I lost my last match to Herbig, so not a big deal. It was kind of a fun match. I was drinking whiskey, and he was just destroying me. Like I said, he didn't let me untap with a minion until like turn 8, so not great. But like I said, when I go through these things, I separate out my colors. I didn't have much as far as water goes. I didn't have a whole lot as far as air goes. And again, my strategy was kind of go big as far as minions go, so air wasn't really where I wanted to be anyway. I did get the Forial Templar, and I had an Archimago, but I didn't end up running either of those because I didn't have enough spells for Archimago, and I literally had 2 knights, one of them being like a Verdant Knight or something, and then the other one was, it was Yellow Knight. I had a Yellow Knight, and then I had Sir Gawain, and Gawain was 3 color, and I just don't think I could justify the threshold, because if you get greedy with your threshold, you just lose some games to your own deck. So I went with Spellslinger. I played Spellslinger for all of my decks at the tournament, and it served me pretty well, so I'm not feeling too bad about that. Like I said, when I'm usually going through my decks, I separate them out into cards that I really want to see, and then cards I don't so much want to see. Ooh, yeah, these, I think I already started doing this. So Rescue, I think, is okay. We'll talk about that in a minute. Kettletop Leprechaun, yeah. Yep. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, okay. I have 3 cards in the I'm not sure I want to play these pile. These are the I'm okay with playing these piles, and these are the I'm thrilled to be playing. Pigs of the Sounder, I don't love. If you are mulliganing away bad cards, right? Let's say I don't want these cards, they're in my opening hand. I'm mulliganing away both of them to the bottom, and then I get a Pigs of the Sounder later in the game. His Death Right to reveal your next 5 spells and summon the Grand Old Boar from among them to this site. Put the rest on the bottom in any order. It's not a May ability, which means that I have put the cards I least want to see for the rest of the game on the bottom of my deck, and then when this thing dies later, I'm putting 5 cards that are probably perfectly reasonable on the bottom and moving those crappy cards up to the top. So it's a 3-mana 3/3, which is why I ended up running it over something else, but I'm not thrilled that this is in my deck. Tax Collector, similarly, I think that he's a perfectly reasonable play on turn 3. 3 mana, 2 power, Genesis. On your opponent's next turn, their spells cost 1 more. It's a great tempo hit. I think it's actually quite good. The reason I don't like this is because I don't want to play a 2-power minion that's basically vanilla any point later in the game. On turn 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, this is horrible, right? I'm basically like, play a 2-power vanilla, it doesn't matter, you have all the mana you need to play this creature. It doesn't feel good. Last is Kettletop Leprechaun. Leprechaun, I think it's actually decent. I don't mind it at all. I'm okay with playing it. I just would rather have another brown bear. But you know what? It's very serviceable. It's totally fine. We'll talk about these right after I go through everything else. So I love Squires, especially if you have a density of decent minions. They're basically just like lance generators, and this one helps get a lance, bring it up to one of my forward minions, give that minion lance, and then basically it becomes a removal spell. I love Squires. I think they're always great. I'm happy to run many of them as long as I have a decent number of larger bodies in the deck. Joust, I think, is great. It's basically a worse... well, in Limited, it's usually a worse duel, unless you're in water, in which case it's a better duel, because maybe you have Troll Bridge, and you can pull them into the Troll Bridge, deal extra damage, or make them discard cards. I like Joust. I'll run as many as I can get. Harassing Ruffians is a 3-mana 3 power, and he's just really good for removing minions, especially if you can give him a lance with your Squire. Then he could be a 4 power, first strike, remove a minion, and they can't defend. So very good, love that. Lava Flow is incredible. Use this to great effect. This is one of the ways that I think Zalem and Ulava were talking about how I was playing my sites kind of like this. And the reason for that is I had multiple ways to use my avatar to 2-for-1 them on this site right here, such as Joust and Burning Hands and things like that. Sorry, Lava Flow and Burning Hands, Fire Breathing, those sorts of things. As well as it let me play my later game minions without giving up free damage here. It still let me get all the sites that I really wanted to, and then it kind of gave me a way to get my Red-Breasted Robin up aggressively, and if they wanted to play aggressive on me, they would be essentially nowhere near where my Red-Breasted Robin is going to be back on their avatar, hitting them for 2 each turn, and it turns a Red-Breasted Robin into essentially a Devil's Egg, which is just amazing. So speaking of Red-Breasted Robin, I love this. I always want one in my fire decks. Do I want more than one? As you could see, I had, oh yeah, this was my extra one, but I don't necessarily want a bunch of them because they don't synergize together. You want one on top of their avatar, hitting their site for 1, and then pinging them at the end of turn just to get them for 2 every turn. I think in one of my games this dealt like 8 damage on its own. So I always want 1, I'm not sure about 2. This is the same Lava Flow from before, so I don't have 2. I do have Burning Hands though, which is great. I really like Hamlets Ablaze and Limited, especially in tournaments, because people are kind of greedy. I sat next to a guy who opened up like 5 knights, which is insane, and I was very jealous. But they were of a bunch of different colors, and he decided to run at least 3, if not 4 colors. If someone's doing that and you just Hamlet Ablaze their threshold, you can screw them, mess up a lot of the cards in their hand so they can't play them, and then just basically win off of them having dead spells in hand. I like having 1. I don't think that this is like site destruction is the way to go, but I really like threshold interruption. So I think that it's a very good thing to have at least 1, maybe 2, but 1. Duel, I think is great, especially if you're going with the big booty strategy. You want to have a duel in your deck, maybe 2, maybe 3. Red-Breasted Robin, we already explained. I love this card. I like it a little bit less when I already have 1. I usually want 1, maybe 2. Hunting Party is a 4-mana 3/3, but it's got ranged and it takes away stealth, and air has a bunch of stealth. I think it's quite good. I'm very happy to have this on my deck. Spear Marshal is one of my bombs. I hadn't actually played with Spear Marshal before before SorceryCon. But this card is a house. I only drew it in like 2 out of my 6 games, but in both games it was amazing. Just generating a bunch of lances on a 3-power body is very powerful, and it turned a bunch of my larger minions into essentially removal spells. I used this to get rid of the Fomorians because I didn't open any of the 6-power giants, and I got rid of those things no problem with Spear Marshal and Lance tokens. Vikings, like I said, I love this card. It has a useful ability that I have used every once in a while, but also it's just a 5-mana 4-power beater. We love those. Brown Bears, this is the staple. You always want these guys. It's the GOAT. I was getting so jealous. B Posey was opening up like 5 Brown Bears next to me, and I was losing my mind. Lumbering Giant, not quite as good as Brown Bears, but totally serviceable. Siege Giant probably won me all of my games. I mean, maybe not actually all of them, but it won me so many games. I think that this card is so good. I was talking to a couple different people about face up and face down plays, and Siege Giant's a huge like face down play essentially. And what I mean by that is if you just play a brown bear every turn, you are playing very face up, right? You're saying, here's my threat, can you deal with it? And if their answer is no, then you win the game. And if the answer is yes, then they win the game. There's not really room for outplaying with this card. It's just, here's my threat, beat it or don't. Having something like a Siege Giant, and like I think one of my best plays was Siege Giant Spear Marshal, but you have a Spear Marshal, let's say here. I think this is exactly what happened. I had my Spear Marshal with a Lance token, a Lumbering Giant with nothing, and they played a 6-power Fomorian here. And I was like, okay, I have a Lance token on my Spear Marshal. I'll play my Siege Giant on this site. I'll generate a second Lance. I'll toss the Spear Marshal here. I'll give both Lances to this guy, and I will kill your 6-power minion, breaking both Lances, losing nothing. And the reason I say that's a face-down play is they didn't have any idea that I was going to be able to reposition this Spear Marshal. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to give it to this Lumbering Giant. And so there's no way for them to know and play around it, right? That gave me the opportunity to outplay my opponent with information that hadn't been revealed. Whereas if I was just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll play another 4-power minion and then hopefully we can, double block and trade. It's not very good, right? So you want to have a bunch of different face down plays or ways to outplay your opponent, and Siege Giants are going to be the way to do it. As you can see, I got a second one. I love that. I think these Knights are actually quite good. It's essentially 4 power the first time it strikes because of the Lance, and that removes all the minions that I'm talking about, like Brown Bears. Field Laborers, I love having in a deck where I'm going to be going a little bit higher, which I have been. So if I can go to 5, 6, 7 mana with my Field Laborers and pump out big spells and maybe some removal spells as well, that's going to be great. I had an extra duel, which was great. And then Lady Assault, I didn't pull her in a lot of games, but every game I pulled her in, she was an absolute house. She never got killed immediately. That's not true. In my last game with Herbig, I never got to use her because I never untapped the minion. But essentially, the reason that she was bad in Herbig's game and good in every other game is because essentially what you want is to have, you know, a minion or something like this. And then they have something huge here. You'll be like, cool, I'll play Lady Assault. I'll do a double attack into your minion. We'll trade 2 for 1. It takes the hit. But I put both of these back into my card. It's like I just drew 2 new cards. Lady Assault, bringing things back when they would die, is so cracked. So this is also another reason why I probably went on to day 2. It's just so powerful. But as you can see, there's literally only 3 cards that I wish I didn't have to play. I wish I had upgrades for. 2 cards that I was pretty happy playing, but you know, maybe I could upgrade. And then everything else was like, bomb, everything I want. I have no problems. This is exactly the deck I want to be building. Rescue, by the way, I did include. I don't always like Rescue, but as you could see, I had 2 Siege Giants, a Lady Isolde, I had Vikings, I had Brown Bear, I had Lumbering Giant, Spear Marshal. I had enough bombs that I was like, well, I'd much rather buy back one of those amazing minions than kind of gamble on top decking something better later. So yeah, this is the deck that I went 5-1 and was able to move on to day 2 in top 64 with. So we felt pretty good about that. My bad, I didn't go over sites. So I'm almost an even split. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, kind of 12 earth spells. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, kind of 13 fire. So essentially you want to go 6 and 6 if you can. It's really dangerous to run non-thresholded sites when you're doing double and triple pips, and I had a lot of double pipped earth, as you can see, just from the revealed cards. I mean, it is a lot of double pipped earth, and I had a decent number of double pip fire, and all the good spells that I want to be playing in fire are double pip. So yeah, I wasn't playing anything non-thresholded like a Hamlet or anything. So I think we just went 6 and 6. Yep. Yeah. So I just took basically the sites that I opened in those colors and put them to decent use and went 6 and 6. All right, so we are in day 2. We are in the top 64, and we were in a single elimination draft. I'm against some of the best players that went to the event, and I'm hoping to basically open good cards, draft a solid deck, and beat all of them because I had to be the sole survivor of my pod. I think my first pick was a Lugbog Cat, which is that 3 mana, 4 power cat that has to be played to a water site. I got like a Squire, then I got a Brown Bear, 3rd pick, and I was so thrilled to have Brown Bear. I said, okay, cool. We got Brown Bear, we got Cat. I guess we're gonna go Water, Earth, see what else is open. I grabbed like another card. It was like 4th or 5th pack, someone passed me Sir Lamorak, which is an absolute bomb. If you guys haven't played with this card wins games on its own. 4/3, 4 mana. It's in the 2 colors I'm not playing, so Fire, Threshold, Air, and Deathrite strike each nearby enemy. That basically means that when you play them in a central location, they have to stop playing to the board, or they have to immediately use a removal spell on him and lose whatever they have, or they have to like walk backwards to not get struck by Sir Lamorak. It's just a beating. I didn't get to play him as much as Balin. Oh yeah, spoiler alert, I got Balin. But it does so much work every time it hits the field. This card's amazing. So it's like 5th pick, I get this card. I'm like, no way. All right, you know what? Nothing else in the pack is nearly as good. We're gonna spec on it. I will take this card in case I go Fire, Air, and I've got my 4 or 5 other cards. I think I had 4 Water, Earth cards, but none of them were bombs. None of them were even nearly as good. It was like Brown Bears and Lugbog Cats, which are good, but not this. But I was like, okay, fine. And then I think someone passed me like a Harassing Ruffians, and I was like, sure, I'll take a Harassing Ruffians just in case, but I still have a solid foundation to the deck that I was planning on building. And then it was 7th or 8th pick, they passed me Balin, 1st pack, and I was like, this is a bomb. If I can make this work, and if these are passing, that means these colors are open, or at least this color combination is open, I am slamming Sir Balin. By the way, he is a 4 mana Fire, Air, 3/4, which has Lance, and whenever Sir Balin attacks an avatar, destroy that avatar's site, then burrow other minions and artifacts there. Holy crap, is this card good, and this card won me a bunch of games, and I'll explain why. But at that point, I'm like, forget my first 5 picks. This is what I'm doing. This is where it's at. Like, and just these 3 cards alone, like Harassing Ruffians is already a great card. I'm thrilled to have it, so I'm in. At that point, I basically hard cut fire. And in drafting, cutting is basically removing all the like decent cards from that color so that nobody else gets any. But essentially what it does is when they get past a pack, they'll say, well, fire's not open. I don't see any good fire. I guess I'll take this water card. I guess I'll take this earth card. And they end up just not in my colors. And that way, later down the line, they'll just pass me the good cards that I want. So I think I went with like, okay, cool. We'll go with a Reckless Squire. We'll take this Burning Hands. We'll take, what else did I get? Probably like a Joust. And I finished out my pack feeling okay. And then someone 3 seats down to me opens up a foil Siege Giant, which you saw I had a foiled Siege Giant that was, you saw I had a foiled Siege Giant side by True Parish in the last game, and it won me a lot of games. And so I was like, well, you know what? Like, just send that my way. I'm definitely going to take it. No reason to let anyone else have that. So third pick, they really did. Nobody took this foil Siege Giant. At that point, I'm like, I can't lose. There's no way I'm losing. So yeah, no. Of my 3 decks that I got to draft, this was by far the best. I mean, it's not even close. I got Hydra Sprites, Magic Missile, Keening Banshee. As you'll see, it's my only double air threshold outside of the 2 Knights. I got Weightless Squire, Weightless Squire, Weightless Squire, Reckless Squire. As you can see, I have a second Reckless Squire. I started speccing on Horn of Calrion. I've never actually played this in Limited. It's only okay in Constructed. But I was like, you know, we'll take it just in case. So cool, we had it. Got a Shatter Strike, love it. Invasion, oh, actually, I got the Pendragon Banner first. And I was like, I'll take this card because everything else in the pack sucks. But I'm not really excited to play it. I probably won't. And then I got Invasion. And I was like, well, it is 8 power when combined with Pendragon Banner in 1 turn. And then I don't think this is a very good card. And the reason it's a 6 mana red card that says at the end of your turn, summon a Foot Soldier token to each affected enemy site with no units, the last 3 of your turn. So the problem is you have to have it back on their back row because it has to be only on enemy sites, or only, Foot Soldiers are only generated on enemy sites. And then they're only generated if there's no units there. So on your second turn, usually even if you made all 4, if this was my spot and I had 4 Foot Soldiers here, in order to move them out of the way, I'm only going to be able to get 2 of them out of the way, which means the best I could possibly do is make 2 more Foot Soldiers the next turn and 2 more the last turn. So in a perfect world, this is 6 mana for what, 8? That's amazing, but I think cumulatively between playing this card twice, maybe? I think I only played it twice. I got like 6 total minions. It's not very good, but with Pendragon Banner, and I did get that combo out at least once, it's pretty good. We got the Joust, we got the Red-Breasted Robin, we got Vikings, Saracen Raider, Hamlets Ablaze. So ultimately, this was cracked. I think that there's not a single card in here that I'm not thrilled to be playing other than maybe the Horn, Pendragon's Banner, and Invasion. And even then, I was like, I'll spec on these might be good. I never played this. I have no idea. I can't tell you if it's good or bad. But essentially, the game plan was I had, excuse me, Reckless Squire, yeah, I had 4 different Squires to generate Lance tokens. Hydra Sprites, because they're just pretty decent. Magic Missile is decent. Keening Banshee, because, you know, I got all these mortals. This guy won me so many games, no joke. I would play this, you know, kind of diagonally to where their avatar was up, where the horn is. And I'd be like, okay, cool, pass. And in 1 game, I did Siege Giant, Toss Sir Balin, onto like, what was it? They were on their, they had a Viking here. I didn't attack. I said Joust. So he swaps places with their avatar, and then their avatar, and then he would strike, right? It says they'll strike if they swap places. So if their avatar's here, as is their Viking, it burns the site and buries the Viking for free. It was insane. Immediate win. My opponent was like, yeah, you got me. I lost. And I won a second game almost the same way, except for minus the Joust. It was like, play Sir Balin, toss Sir Balin, attack. And I got in and I got to blow up their site, deal 3 damage, and just blow them out entirely. And it was easy wins. So, not easy wins. They were amazing opponents. I just mean that these cards are cracked, and when these cards are together, it's insane. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say. Every single card in this deck was amazing. Joust, obviously, like I said, is amazing. Harassing Ruffians is going to be incredible. Sir Lamorak is always good. You want to have this to just mana screw somebody. And actually, I was telling you about Cal earlier, that aggro air player. I destroyed one of his... I kept him off of 4 mana when he had to do walking up on me and hit me with Arc Lightning. I think that's what it was. So by keeping him off of the mana, he had to take an extra turn off to tap and play a site. And I was able to buy a turn to run away and just basically take in the door before he could get to me. And I won the game by just like, I can't remember if I threshold screwed him or if I mana screwed him. But yeah, having at least one is just so good. Removal, 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 Squires, Red-Breasted Robin. Like I said, this card does a whole lot of work. And then yeah, you can't say everything in this deck was amazing. I wish I could say I got to the top 8 all on skill, but this deck was insane. I guess maybe skills for drafting, I don't know. And as you can see, I'm slanted more toward the fire than I am the air, but I do have double air in Sir Lamorak and single air in Balin, so I really wanted to hit my air sites, so I think I went 5 and 7, because fire is a little bit more important. And I got some solid treetop hideouts. These are great. I think as far as air sites go, these are some of the best. Lookouts are also incredible because you want to get information from your opponent, but yeah, so 5 air, and then I got some fire, not a lot. Funeral Pyre, not really important in limited, but very good in constructed and a bonfire. So yeah, this was my second deck. It was absolutely incredible. Truett, you're the greatest for signing all of my foiled Siege Giants that I got in all my packs. And yeah, no complaints. This helped me get to the top 8. I was so thrilled. All right, last but not least, we are in the top 8 draft. And the way that essentially worked was that David, aka Floating Skull, opened up an entire box of Arthurian Legends, stamped every card with SorceryCon, wrote them all down, put them back in packs, and then randomized them and gave them to us and then walked away. So essentially, he knew what all the cards were, had an accurate keep so that there's no way anyone could cheat. He had stamps, so there's no way you could slip in a better card in your into your pool. And honestly, the box was a dud, which was kind of cool. It meant, or at least from what I saw, it was a total dud. Nobody had like Ring of Morrigan or Sir Lamorak or, you know, any crazy knights that were taking over the game and making it very one-sided. The games that I played, everybody had very fair, normal minions. I don't even think I saw a unique. And yeah, so you just heard groans and groans and groans going around the table because all of us were like, we're drafting garbage. We've got nothing. Our decks are so mediocre. And honestly, my deck was the worst of all 3 of my decks for sure. And yeah, like I said, I mean, spoiler alert, I got 3rd, so I won a game and lost a game. Both games were super tight. Well, that's not true. My first game was a really close game. I think it was like double death's door. Played super, super well by my opponent, who was one of the only guys who was undefeated from day 1. I was able to clinch the victory there based on guards, essentially. And then game 2 was just absolutely hilarious. And I'll talk about it a little bit more after I show you my deck, but we'll separate it again. It's the cards I'm thrilled to be playing, the cards that I'm okay about, and the cards I really wish I wasn't playing. 1 rescue, not too bad. Grain Sparrow can be quite good in Death Speaker in constructed, but pretty bad in limited, not gonna lie. Field Laborers, okay. Stone Rain. I mean, honestly, it's like usually like hit for 2, right? Because it's deal 1 damage to, so target site up to 2 steps away, deal 1 damage to everything top of it, repeating for each site in your hand. So usually it's like, if you have the Stone Rain, you tap, draw a site, and hit them for 2. Maybe you draw a site for turn, tap, draw a site, hit everything for 3. It's not bad. I'm not thrilled, but we'll take it. Thankless Squire. This card is crap. I don't want to spend 5 mana on an immobile 1/1 just for 3 lances. It's terrible, but I honestly had garbage. There was like nothing else to fit in here. You know how I feel about Tax Collector. Not happy. Lumbering Giant. Okay, we'll slam that. Great. Harassing Ruffians. Absolutely. Blue Top Knockers. He's a 3 mana 3/3 with no downside, right? He has a little upside, but he's got no downside. I'll say I'm happy enough. He maybe more fits here. Kettle Top, it's fine. Invasion, pretty unhappy here to be playing this. Second Field Laborers, I don't have any bombs as you can see, so probably less happy to be playing it. Burning Hands, slam dunk. Wyvern was my pack 1 pick 1. Of course I'm thrilled to be playing this. It's amazing. This is one of the best pack 1 pick 1s you can get in the set. It is single color, double threshold, not terrible. It's airborne, a 5/5. It's hard to get rid of. This is amazing. Like I said, they're hard to get rid of, so I love this card. Siege Giant, you know I had to pick Siege Giant. It was pack 2, pick 1. I wasn't even sure if I should be in fire, but Siege Giant, so of course. Vikings. Okay, we're shaping up a little bit better. Duel, absolutely. Hamlet, yes. Duel again, yes. Tool a 3rd time, sure, as long as I get more of these good cards. Yellow Knight, you know I love. Rescue, no, I don't have quite enough good ones. I've got 2 Vikings, a Siege Giant, and a Wyvern. I don't really want another rescue. The first one's fine. And then Guards. Actually, Guards is cracked. I mean, it's like 6 mana for 8 power usually. It won me my 1 game and bought me a boatload of time in my 2nd game. So what did I end up losing to? I lost to the guy who ended up taking 2nd. He was so friendly, so fun, such a great player. I wish I remembered his name right now. But yeah, it was sick. He had, I think his first 6 minions he played had evasion. It was like Thankless Squire into Band of Thieves, into Band of Thieves, into 2nd Thankless Squire, into like Sly Fox or something. He was playing just a boatload of stealth and airborne minions. He played like a Sword and Shield on his Thankless Squire, and I was like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to run Sword and Shield. It's a bad card. But turns out when everybody in your deck has evasion, Sword and Shield's pretty good because you can't just target their minion and remove it. And as you can see, I didn't really have much removal. So yeah, no, absolutely got brutalized. I think he had me down to like, I think I was at death's door and he was still at like 17, and it was like 8 turns in. And I just kept drawing like none of my good minions. And I basically ended the game, and it was so much fun. Honestly, I had an absolute blast losing that game because I had like Siege Giant and my Avatar was all that was left, and he had like 2 or 3 guys, and he was just chasing me around the realm. And basically every single turn was like, okay, Siege Giant's gonna come up and kill your like 2 power minion. I'll walk my Avatar up. Siege Giant's gonna chuck me into the corner, and then and then I'll play, because every turn he had like another threat that I had to deal with, and I had like a terrible minion every turn. So I'm like, okay, play Grain Sparrow, I'm on Death's Door, I don't gain anything, but I'll have a blocker. And then he would try to kill me, my minion would die, and I'd be like, all right, Siege Giant to kill your dude, walk up, diagonal chuck me, somewhere over here, and then play a terrible minion to chump block so that I don't die another turn. So, all right, Tax Collector. It was so fun. I think the judge at the table was Metroid Pikmin, aka Justin. He was like, I think Zach came up, he's like, hey, how's it going? He's like, CJ could have conceded like 8 turns ago, but he's playing it out for fun. It was so funny. It was an absolute blast. I said the same thing, so no hard feelings there, Justin. But yeah, it was so good. And then I ended up winning some cool prizes, so we can go over those. But I gotta say, I didn't have Feast for Crows, so I hate drafted this in the top 8, just so I'd have one. So my only copy has SorceryCon on it. But I didn't want to play against that card, especially because I'm a vocal player. If you ever play against me or draft with me, I'm usually like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, got the card I needed. Or like, oh, another Brown Bears? We're living the dream. So yeah, I didn't want people having Feast for Crows against me because I'm a little bit too verbal and I have no poker face. All right, so let's see what we got for prizes. All right, so for prizes, top 8 all got the Frazetta Champion Sorcerer mat. So this is pretty amazing. Very happy to have this. Also, everyone in the top 8 got the foil Frazetta Sorcerer. So pretty happy to have this one as well. I was really hoping to get a copy of this somehow. And I also got the Arthurian Legends Frazetta Champion, so yeah. Oh, sorry, Vincent Papetti. Oh, yeah, they have a similar musculature. I just think I assumed that it was Frazetta, but yeah, obviously it's a Pompetti. Everyone in the top 64 got a playmat. There were a couple different options. You didn't really choose. It was just kind of wherever you were randomly assigned. So I got the Great Drowning of Men. Pretty thrilled. I think that was one of the top 2 that I wanted. There was the Great Burning of Man. I think that's what it's called, which is awesome. There was Tithe, which I wouldn't necessarily want, but it was really a cool playmat. And then the other one that I think is really, really cool is the Midsummer Night Dream, the Fairy Aura. I think that was the other really, really nice looking playmat, but yeah, really thrilled to have this. Top 4 also got a custom playmat. I think this is from Broussard. I'm not 100% sure. I was in a little bit of a whirlwind when they were giving these out, but I got to choose between this one and another one, and I'm not sure if I made the right choice or not. I think I love this one, right? Obviously, the colors are amazing. The owlbear looks incredible. I love the eyes. So that's why I ended up going with this one. But the other one was so weird that I almost kind of love it. It was like the background was like the Declaration of Independence, and then on the foreground were like Alexander Hamilton, Ben Franklin, and George Washington as ghosts with muskets, which like founding father ghosts with muskets, like that's so weird. It might just be perfect. So maybe I made the wrong choice, but again, it was after like 2 days of play, and this is certainly not a bad choice because it's pretty awesome having an owlbear playmat. So this was for the top 4. And then time for my bonus prize. So you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but I ended up going to the Courtesan Cup and winning that one. So I got to meet Truett Parrish, and he gave me a painting. That was part of the prizes for Courtesan Cup. And then as you guys saw, in all three of my decks, I had Siege Giants. And I had foil Siege Giants in the first two. So I had Truett sign them. And I kept kind of like talking to him and his girlfriend, Allie, both of whom are lovely. And I've met them before, again, at the Courtesan Cup. And I asked Truett if he wouldn't mind doing a doodle for me. And he did. And then when I went to go pick up the doodle, he gave me this. Because I had talked to him between probably every round. I think Truett's kind of my good luck charm. And he just said like, yeah, you love this card, and it, you know, kind of was like the card of your weekend. So yeah, here you go. So he gave me a signed print of Siege Giant. And so no, this wasn't a prize, but it kind of feels like one to me. This is the thing I'm probably happiest coming home with. I think it's just so cool. So Truett, if you're out there, you're the GOAT. He put the Siege Giant on my Tentacle playmat. So yeah, no, I'm feeling good. So overall, kind of final thoughts. This was an absolute blast. SorceryCon was so incredible. I had no expectations to win because everybody in the top 8 was so good. I think everyone played basically perfectly, and it just kind of depends on, you know, what you draft, what you draw. But just getting there was like such an honor, and it made me feel so good because, you know, you wanna prove that you can make it to a top 8 in a different format, right? I did it with the constructed, and now I was trying to try with limited, and it was so cool. It was so fun. I got to see so many friends. There's just too many people to shout out. I think if I start doing it now, I'm going to forget, you know, half of them and make somebody feel bad, or I'll feel bad. But yeah, I spent so much time just chatting with people and hanging out and having such a good time. Guys, if you guys are thinking about going to a major sorcery convention, I cannot recommend it enough. It is so fun. The people are so amazing. The vibe is very chill. It's not nearly as like competitive and sweaty as you might think. Obviously, in the top cuts, you want to be winning, but like I said, like Herbig beat me, and I was like drinking a glass of whiskey, calling him an asshole for Koinixing away my creatures. Like we're like buds, right? Like at this point, all these players who are showing up, and they're like consistently showing up, right? I want to say a quarter to a third of the people in the top 64 were all people who made top cut at Courtesan Cup. So it's not luck. Like these people are good, and you just get to know them and you get to hang with them, and it's just such a fun community. So I think I'm rambling. I apologize. It's late. I've been meaning to make this video for like 2 weeks, and I'm finally doing it now. But if you guys are ever thinking about going to a sorcery convention, I think the next one's probably going to be March of the Mortals, if Drew is still doing that, and then maybe the Courtesan Cup or a second SorceryCon in the spring. I cannot recommend it enough. Just go do it. Just go. Just have fun. Even like I went on Friday and did literally 0 events. I played some grudge match, like constructed matches against friends, and I had so much fun. You don't even have to participate to have fun. If you don't think you're very good at the game, still go. It is so fun. The people are so friendly. You don't have to compete. You can just play the casual events. So many people are running like 2-headed giant and multiplayer formats that I didn't get a chance to try, but I'm really excited to try. I bought a 2-headed giant playmat from the Beast of the Bay, so shout out to the Beast of the Bay. I'll be checking this out. But yeah, no, I just wanted to say this is the best. It was an absolute blast. And if you're ever thinking about doing something like this, I can't recommend it enough. And finally, guys, you might not know this, but I was actually sponsored to go to SorceryCon by Too Fluent, aka Louis Silva, and I really appreciate that. Too Fluent is working on his own indie TCG game right now called ShardBugs, and it's in the pre-Kickstarter phase. You can check it out below. And actually, Kevmo from All Things Contested Realm is his community manager. So ShardBugs is a game where you use your bug army to raise your devotion to your cosmic avatar, like Mars here, up to 20, and once you do, you win the game. But your opponent's trying to do the same thing. So you deploy your bug army, you can exert the cards to raise devotion to your avatar, you can use them to attack your opponent's devotion and attack your opponent's resources like their bugs. I just love this Slug Brute art. You've got other cards like actions, which are like sorceries, quick actions, which are like instants, items, and support cards. I just love that Lollipop Warhammer. It might be my favorite art just because of the way the colors pop. You can check out the link to the description below where there's going to be a Learn to Play video, as well as the website and the Discord. And I just really want to say I appreciate it, Too Fluent. Thank you so much for sponsoring me. Have a great day, guys.